This is CBC Here and Now.
And with that, the first COVID-19 vaccine is administered in the province.
A major milestone in the pandemic that's had a monumental impact on all of us.
I feel like it's an early Christmas gift in a way.
Just a sense of relief, a sense of the end is close.
I think it's a testament to everybody's endurance that we have got this far.
And again, this is again protection for me, but also for family, my coworkers, and again the clients and families that I serve.
The sense that this is going to end, that families can come together again.
This is a historic day. This is for everybody at home and everyone here today. This will be one of those moments in time where you remember where you were.
Well, good evening and welcome to Here and Now. I'm Anthony Germain.
And I'm Carolyn Stokes. Well, this is a day many have been waiting for since the first lockdown last March. The vaccinations against COVID-19 have started in this province.
Now, you might even want to call it V-Day. The first vaccine doses were given out this afternoon. Here Now's Peter Cowan was there for that moment, and he joins us now live. So, who were the first two people to receive the vaccine, Peter?
Anthony, as you saw there in that little introduction, the very first people to receive the very first doses of the Pfizer vaccine were two healthcare workers, two people who stepped up right at the beginning of COVID-19. So let's show that moment again. That's the very first dose. It went to Ellen Foley-Vick, who's a public health nurse. So when this pandemic hit, she was the person going into people's homes in order to swab them so they could get tested for COVID-19. The second went to Dr. Jatin Morkar, who's clinical chief at Eastern Health. He volunteered to treat COVID-19 patients when that pandemic first hit, even though that meant isolating away from his family in the beginning. So what was he thinking about today? Well, he was thinking about the grief of family members who watched their loved ones who were sick and dying from COVID under his care.
There was actually two family members in hospital, and it was, the grief that went with that was just something that I don't think I'll ever recover from. I don't think any of the staff will recover from. But just really happy that we're here today, and hopefully we'll never see that again.
Now, everyone's been waiting for these vaccines to arrive. There are enough doses to vaccinate almost 1,000 people, and another similar shipment is due next week. For the next month or so, St. John's is the only place with the freezers needed to keep the vaccine at the proper temperatures. That's why it's healthcare workers, not long-term care home residents, who are getting the first doses. The vaccine shipments are expected to be slow and steady. Just 6% of the population is expected to get their vaccines in the first 3 months, but it is a start.
This is a historic day. This is for everybody at home and everyone here today. This will be one of those moments in time where you remember where you were. This is a generational moment that Newfoundlanders and Labradorians have been praying for, have been hoping for, have been wishing for quite some time.
Now, if you're curious, when are Dr. Janice Fitzgerald, who, by the way, that was her administering those first doses, when she, the Premier, the Health Minister, are going to get their shots, they said they're not considered frontline, so they're going to hold off until their demographic is called up in order to get the vaccine.
Okay, Peter, well, for those of us who aren't going to get the bragging rights of having Janice Fitzgerald give us the shots, when are the rest of us going to start getting vaccinations?
That's kind of the sobering message here. Let's go through some of those key dates that we are expecting to see here. So first of all, it's looking like she said that it's going to be the end of June before we start to see doses for regular people who aren't part of the high-risk groups. By fall 2021, she's expecting everyone who wants a shot will have been able to receive one. And what about Indigenous communities and people in long-term care homes? They're a priority, but they're going to be first up when the Moderna vaccine is approved because it's easier to transport and it's also easier to store. Now, officials highlighted today, it's not just, it is a historic moment, but all the things that we've seen come with this pandemic, the travel ban, the masks, the physical distancing, those aren't expected to go anywhere anytime soon, unfortunately. Anthony?
All right, thank you, Peter. It's Peter Cowan reporting live for us from our newsroom. Well, the province, meantime, is reporting 5 new cases of COVID-19, all of them travel-related. 2 men returning from work in Alberta, as well as 3 people who traveled to the province from Asia. Health officials are asking anybody who took Air Canada Flight 696 from Toronto to St. John's on Sunday to call 811 and arrange testing. But Janice Fitzgerald says, stay calm.
None of these cases are concerning in the sense of onward transmission. People are isolating. People are following the rules. So these travel-related cases, this is the whole point: is to find them, be able to isolate them, and make sure they're being cared for properly. So you know, there's no more concern because there's 5 today.
Now, the vaccine is being distributed throughout Atlantic Canada as well today.
That's it. All done.
It's a nurse in Halifax was the first in Nova Scotia to receive the vaccine there. Healthcare workers and those who work in long-term care homes are the first to get them in Nova Scotia. And that's also the plan for Prince Edward Island, where vaccinations also started today. Meanwhile, in New Brunswick, the vaccine arrived yesterday and it is being stored in a hospital. People in New Brunswick will start getting the shots on the weekend.
Well, the former Minister of Justice and the Chief of Police are denying allegations that government interfered with police investigations. They spoke out today after the RCMP confirmed it's received a complaint about Andrew Parsons. Now, the complaint alleges Parsons influenced the investigation of a police officer who was convicted and later acquitted of obstruction of justice. And there are questions about a call made by another cabinet minister to the RNC. Mark Quinn reports.
There's been turmoil at the RNC for years now, and this year it spilled into the very inner circle of government. 2 cabinet ministers are accused of interfering in police investigations, but Chief Joe Boland says it's not true.
Look, let me be very clear. There's no interference, there's no influence when it comes to criminal investigations by the RNC. Never has been with Minister Parsons, former Premier Ball, or Bernard Davis, or any other government official.
The stakes are high when it comes to police promotions. Sherry Gambin-Walsh and now Bernard Davis are caught up in the internal police machinations to move up the line. Earlier this week, the Tories accused Davis of interfering in police work. They point to a court document that says Davis asked Boland about the investigation into Sherry Gambin-Walsh's leak of RNC promotion information. But Boland says Davis never asked him about an investigation.
On March 10th, he called me. He asked me how I was doing, and he asked me, was there anything to the leak? And I just told him it was inappropriate for me to speak about anything in relation to the leak.
The complaint against Parsons is something else. RNC Constable Joe Smythe, the police officer who fatally shot Don Dunphy, was eventually acquitted of obstruction of justice on an unrelated traffic stop. But Smythe alleges Parsons directly influenced that case earlier, when Smythe was charged and convicted.
I know that it's ridiculous. I know that it's beyond belief.
Parsons says the complaint came up here and has become public for political advantage.
This is people using the justice system for political purposes, and that's pretty frustrating, pretty low actually.
The Progressive Conservative leader says it's outrageous that the Attorney General and the Chief of Police are even commenting on and possibly influencing the outcome of a complaint to the RCMP.
These are the top law enforcement officials in the province, and they're weighing in on the merits of a complaint lodged with the RCMP that involves one of them, the Attorney General. Again, where is the Premier on this? How can this possibly be proper? And how are we going to get to the bottom of the facts?
The RCMP confirms it has received a complaint from Smythe about Parsons, but the police force says it's assessing the complaint and hasn't decided if it will or will not investigate it. Mark Quinn, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, a man from this province is among the fishermen missing from a scallop boat in Nova Scotia, and tonight the search to find them has ended. 48-year-old Michael Drake from Fortune is among the 6 missing fishermen. He's a father of 2 adult children. He was working on the boat on board this vessel, which sent out an emergency beacon yesterday. Searchers have been looking for the men, but they've been hampered by strong winds and high seas. They found the body of one person who's not yet been publicly identified. They also found debris from the boat, including 2 empty life rafts. A Hercules aircraft and a Cormorant helicopter were dispatched to help the Coast Guard with the search. But about half an hour ago, the Joint Rescue Coordination Center said the search has ended. It's now an RCMP recovery mission. In an interview today with CBC, Drake's sister described him as a good person who loves the ocean.
Well, it's been fairly windy across most of the island, even the province, thanks to an area of low pressure sitting offshore, strengthening as overnight last night. But the good news is we're going to start to see those winds ease as we head through the next little bit anyway. This is what we saw: top winds, 115 kilometers per hour in St. John's, 115 in Bonavista, and those winds are still pretty strong with some wind warnings tonight. So it has been a very wintry weekend, or last couple of days, I should say, on the west coast of the province after a 2-day winter storm. So here now, Colleen Connor went out in the weather to learn about the people who've been coping with the first onset of snow.
Most people in Corner Brook spent the day doing this. Close to 30 centimeters of snow fell overnight. With the winds, it seems like even more. These two woke up to a snow day today. Most school and government offices closed, but the driveway still needs to be cleared.
She's the scooper and I'm the digger. So I dig it all out and then she scoops it and throws it over.
And then switch so no one breaks their backs.
Yes.
Even though shoveling is a lot of work, these two love winter.
I love it. I can't wait to go snowshoeing.
I know. I was like, I hope the ski hill opens. I hope I can get out snowshoeing. And we were hoping for a white Christmas, so.
Yeah.
While most people are just concerned about digging out their driveways today, the city of Corner Brook is thinking on a bigger scale. They've come up with some inventive ways to clear the city streets much quicker this coming winter. For one, Public Works has stashed salt and sand stockpiles around the city for easy refills. The city is renting 2 more loaders this year.
Well, we have 7 routes, and we used to always run 8 loaders. And so we used to run 2 loaders in Curling because that's one of our bigger routes. But we identified a need for Humbermouth to have an extra loader. And sometimes the town site run also needs an extra loader. And it's also good to have some redundancy. So when we had 8 loaders, if we had 1 or 2 break down, then we probably would have a route that would be taking extra long to get done. So we identified that 10 loaders would definitely help our snow clearing efforts, and it's proven to be very helpful in the last couple of days.
Burden says 9 of those 10 plows are on the roads today, tackling the heavy snowfall.
We're used to this in January and February, but to get it in December for our first event, it's a bit of a challenge for sure.
And there may be even more shoveling tonight and tomorrow morning, with flurries and snow squalls in the forecast.
Absolutely. It's here to stay.
Colleen Connors, CBC News, Corner Brook.
Hope they could get him out of there. All right, other story now. We're going to go back 50 years ago. That's when authorities threw the switch on a power plant that changed the way of doing things for a lot of people in this province. The Holyrood generating station opened on December 15th, 1970, and as Here Now Sees Here reports, it was designed to provide a reliable source of power at a time when many households just didn't have that luxury.
When then Premier Joey Smallwood officially opened the plant, Holyrood became the 2nd largest electricity generator in Newfoundland. It produced 300 megawatts of electricity at the dawn of providing power to rural areas. The generating station was built to meet the growing and intensifying demand for power.
It was important at the time, and it remains important today. I think it was very relevant then. It would have been a larger portion of what we would have had. We've had plants come online since then, some hydro plants that have been brought online since then. But every megawatt that's on our system now is an important source.
10 years after it opened, there was an expansion, giving the plant the ability to pump out just under 500 megawatts. Today, Holyrood cranks out 1/5 of all the power used on the island. Despite its historical significance in the province's electricity history, its future is now uncertain. The Public Utilities Board is conducting a reliability review, and one of the things it's looking at is the role of the Holyrood plant. but it will remain in operation until at least 2023, and after that depends on reliability of power from the Muskrat Falls development.
We always planned for a couple of years of overlap of the new assets going in service to make sure that they're hanging in fine and demonstrated reliable before we keep Holyrood or make Holyrood unavailable. So when it's going to be available for every megawatt right up to the last minute.
Even when Holyrood stops generating electricity, the plant will still be used to stabilize levels in the transmission system. Cease here, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, something to celebrate. So far this month, you've helped us raise more than $200,000 for local food banks through our Make the Season Kind campaign. And now you still have until New Year's Eve to make a donation or share a story of kindness with us.
Yes, and tonight's story is about Christmas coming early for more than 400 Dominion workers in St. John's. They spent months on the picket line, but a woman named Michelle Hickey wanted to make sure they each could count on at least one gift.
For me, it might sound corny, but there's no better gift than the gift of giving. Hi, I'm Michelle Hickey, and I'm organising this fantastic group of volunteers today. Every year, my daughter and I actually take on some sort of a project. It could be a family sponsorship or whatever the case may be, and this year the need was really great. I was all over the news about the Dominion strikers. We'd pass them by every day. I shop at Dominion. I know there's a couple of single moms up there. A lot of them are retired and this is their second job. Some of them have spouses that are working in the oil industry that have lost their jobs. They have no income. A lot of them were already using the food bank. Some of them have very small children and they just had nothing, no means to give them anything for Christmas. And we stuffed 412 stockings for the employees.
412
412 stockings, yep.
There was jewellery, there was scarves, hats, mitts, gloves, socks, body wash, miscellaneous things. You could pick 3 things out of a box. It's what Christmas is all about when you know that so many people have donated all of this and you're just the vehicle to take what was donated, package it and pass it on to these people who've had a real rough ride of it this year.
The donations, I started a social media post and it kind of spread. My community, the people in my community are beyond generous. I hardly have to ask. I firmly believe, I'm a single mom and I'm only working part-time. I don't have the financial resources to do something like this. I got a bad back, I can't lift stuff. But there's people on my team that can do the physical part of it. There are people that have the financial resources that can help. There's people that have time that they can volunteer. So I don't buy into this, I don't have the time, I don't have the money, I don't have this. Somebody always has a little bit of something to give back. And when everybody pulls that together, things get done.
Our members at Dominion 934 were overjoyed with it, to think that we were going to get a stocking for everybody and the kids and that.
Yeah, perfect, thank you. Incredible, guys, thanks so much.
Hi, I'm Janet from Dominion 934 Memorial Market, and we so much appreciate all this gifts to our members from Michelle and her volunteers. We've had a hard go of the year, and we so appreciate this to give to our members. We're just so delighted with them to do this for us.
So don't ever apologize for saying, I only have $5 to give, or I can only give you a tube of toothpaste, or I only have an hour to spare. You're giving somebody, you're lessening their burdens a little bit. It comes together and it works, and it's a product here today of what we're doing.
there's only like so many video games that you could play. So after I finished them all, kind of grabbed my mom's stuff, started like, doing art. I woke up one morning and I asked her if she had any paints, because I saw something popped up on my YouTube recommended the night before on classical like painting techniques, and I thought it was like fascinating. So I just took her paints and went at it, and that's about it. I've been improving ever since. I've been getting a lot of support from a lot of local artists. I like that people are taking an interest in what I'm doing, and it makes me feel pretty good. I don't typically like to do, what's the word, commissions, because I can't really express myself during that, but I like the creativity part of it. I don't think if quarantine ever happened, then I wouldn't be able to do it. I won't have the time.
Wow.
Well, there you go. Definitely someone who's made the most out of the quarantine.
And
Wow.
you can believe he's only 17 years old. And apparently he didn't even know how to draw before the pandemic, just picked up a paintbrush, and there you go. Just pure natural talent.
Amazing. Well, it was a windy day today. Take a look at this sea spray in Bonavista. Lee Tremblett shared that with us today. Great video of that. Sheer nature. You can see that there for sure. Taking a look at the satellite radar, the area of low pressure that has been responsible for that is well offshore right now, but we do have some flurries and light snow continuing along the western portions of the province. And temperatures right now pretty chilly, -2 in St. John's, -6 in Corner Brook, and then we've got those chilly temperatures up through Labrador as well. Lab City, you're currently sitting at -21. Factor in that wind chill, feeling more like the -11 in St. John's, -16 in Gander, and Lab City, you're feeling more like -30 right now. Taking a look at the current wind gusts, you can see why there's a wind chill. 80 km/h gusts still occurring in St. John's, 91 in Bonavista, and then we've got those winds that are a little less in Corner Brook, 33 km/h right now, and then along coastal Labrador as well, seeing gusts anywhere from 60 to 80 km/h. Now the good news is, as we head through the next couple of hours, we should start to see those winds ease just below warning criteria. Still staying quite strong tonight though, anywhere from 60 to 80 km/h, a little less along the west coast. But as we head into tomorrow afternoon, you'll note these winds will finally ease, and even more so as we head through the day in the east as that area of low pressure continues to track further offshore. Overnight tonight, we're looking at the snow, light snow continuing along the west coast. It will taper to flurries, not quite as intense as we have been seeing, but we're going to see that snow continue for coastal areas of Labrador. A chance of a few flurries for the northeast, along the northeast coast as well. Other than that, not a whole lot happening, just partly to mostly cloudy skies tonight. But here's a look at that snowfall as far as snowfall totals go by tomorrow morning. So areas along coastal areas of Labrador could see 15, 20 more centimeters by the time we hit tomorrow morning. And then we're looking at anywhere from probably 2 to 5 for most areas along the west coast. In the higher elevations, you can pick up anywhere from 5 to as much as 15 centimeters more by tomorrow morning. Tonight's temperatures going down, very chilly tonight in Lab City, -32. Winds will ease though, so your wind chills won't be too bad overnight tonight. Overnight lows looking around -4 to -7. Areas along the south coast a little bit cooler. Rather warmer, -3 in Marystown, but again, those winds are going to stay quite strong. And if we look at the wind chills again tonight, if you are planning on going out for a walk or anything, make sure you do bundle up, because wind chills tonight will be into the minus teens for most of us, -16 for Happy Valley Goose Bay, and then -6 for Lab City as we head through the night tonight. Now tomorrow, not a whole lot happening weather-wise. We're going to see the light snow taper to flurries finally, and same thing for coastal Labrador. You'll see conditions improve as we head towards the morning hours. As we head into the evening though, we'll see the potential for some flurries for the northeast coast and the Avalon into the overnight, and that will generally continue through the day on Friday. Temperatures tomorrow will be pretty similar today, within a degree or two, -0 to -2. The winds again easing in the west, eventually easing in the east, and then temperatures will stay quite cold again. A ridge of high pressure dominating for Lab City, -21. Nain, you're going to get into some of that sunshine as well, but your temperature's a little bit warmer at -9 through the afternoon. Friday, we're looking at the potential for a few flurries again. Now, I talked about an area of low pressure tracking just south of us as we head towards the weekend. This looks like it'll be a weather maker for mainly the Maritime provinces. A big blocking ridge, which is giving us these temperatures into the minus teens and sunshine, looks like it's going to keep that low pressure system at bay, and we won't really see the effects of that. Maybe some showers and or flurries as we head into Saturday. Certainly going to keep an eye on that, but this is what we're looking at this point. 1 degree for St. John's. Grand Falls winds are hovering around the 0 degree mark, but again, locked into some of that colder air for Labrador. Minus 14 for you in Lab City, minus 17 in Happy Valley, Goose Bay through the afternoon. After that, into Sunday, it looks like we're going to see more flurry activity. -1. Temperatures really not moving much over the next couple of days. Even into Monday, we're looking at some flurries and hovering around the 2 degree mark. For central Newfoundland, some sunshine potentially making an appearance on Saturday into Sunday, a better chance of that. But again, temperatures hovering around 0 or just below pretty much through the beginning of next week. Finally going to see some relief from that snow for western Newfoundland as we head into the weekend as well. Sunday and Monday look nice as that ridge of high pressure sinks a little bit further south. For eastern Labrador, sunshine through Sunday, then temperatures much warmer on Monday, hovering around the 0 degree mark. And then for western Labrador, you're looking at temperatures around the minus single digits by the time we get to Monday. We've been showing you a bunch of merry and bright photos, but another great festival in Port de Grave. This is the lights there. Thank you so much to David for sharing that with us. If you have any to share with us, send them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Welcome back. Well, thanks to many of you who commented about part 1 of our in-depth look into the local drug scene. The email and social media response showed just how much the story of two brothers resonated with you. Now, last night, Mitch described what it was like to live with a drug addict, that's his brother, and what solutions our society needs to rethink. Well, tonight we're going to hear from Gary himself on just how incredibly tough it is to get clean, also difficult to stay that way. Here's part 2. Now to part 2 of our look on Here and Now at addictions in our community. I'm joined again by two brothers, Mitch and Gary. We heard last night, Gary, about a horrific night of an overdose. We're going to get back to that horrible night, but first let's start about your addiction and when it started. You were quite young.
I was.
When did you start using?
I was around 9, 10, 11 years old. I started smoking weed, and it just progressed from there.
Do you remember going from one drug to another until there was one that you just simply enjoyed? I'm not sure if that's the right word.
Opiates, I think once you get to opiates, it doesn't matter who you are, you fall in love with it. That's it. Once you start taking it and it does what it's supposed to do, it takes away all the pain. Everything just goes away.
Was there a point where you realized, I have to do whatever I can to get this?
Yeah. Once you run out of money, you got to get the money somewhere. Being dope sick is not a very nice thing.
When his addiction got bad enough where he was stealing from family is where the line was crossed, and you're no longer hurting yourself, you're hurting your family, you're hurting your loved ones,
Yeah, so Gary, was there a lot of remorse back in the day when this was happening?
Yeah, there's always been remorse. There always will be, always. I've done things that I can't take them back. The only thing I can do now is keep going the way I'm going.
And you've been clean now for what, 10 months, 8-10 months?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. But I know at any point in time that this could go away and I could, go back to it. But in my mindset right now, I'm at the point where my family, my children, my body, my brother is way too important to me to go back to what I was doing.
How about your mom?
Oh, you're gonna make me cry. My mom has been with and beside me and all of my family since day one. It doesn't matter. She's always there. She has always stood by me and picked up for me, and they don't come like my mom all the time. My mom is a good mother. But she really, really wants me to be good and I know that. And that's what I want. I want to make my family and I want to make everybody happy.
How many times have you been in jail?
I've definitely got like 6 or 7 years done in sporadic times.
All in this province?
No, actually no. I have been up away for a federal sentence, which is my last sentence. I did a federal sentence for thefts of booze from liquor stores.
So most of the times you were behind bars was because of stealing?
All the times I was behind bars was for stealing.
And you were stealing to pay for the habit?
Yes.
What do you make of the fact that there seem to be many people who are in our jails and prisons because they're doing things to basically pay for a habit? This is where addicts end up.
Well, the prison we have here is a provincial jail that houses federal inmates. It's not a jail that rehabilitates. It's a jail that just holds people, and it's not a very nice place.
Gary said it's not a very nice place. You might imagine in your head, well, it's not supposed to be a very nice place, and maybe people are right by thinking that it is prison after all. But when you walk into a Canadian penitentiary and you're put in a cage and you're not taught how to live your life, you're not taught how to be a normal person, you're only taught how to be an animal in a cage. That's how we're treating these people. We're not reforming them. We're not giving them the health care they need. We're not giving them mental health treatment. We're locking them in a cage. And when you think about an addict needs rehabilitation. actual rehabilitation. And if the only rehabilitation that addict is receiving is to withdraw in a cell, all that's going to do to that person's brain is teach them that they can never get themselves into that situation again, and they will do anything to not get themselves into that situation again, you know?
So Gary, you heard Mitch talk about putting you in a cage. What was being in a cage like for you with respect to your addiction?
I went through the grips of withdrawal in St. John's lockup.
What's it like?
Withdrawal is like having a fire and an ice chunk inside you, and both of them are fighting with each other constantly. Your legs feel like they're constantly clenching, your stomach is sick, your diarrhea, and all this time all you want to do, and you know that if you get a drug, it'll go away.
It doesn't sound like a treatment.
No.
It's not a treatment, it's a lack of treatment, a complete lack of treatment.
Yeah.
Gary, let me ask you this about the events that we talked about last night on Here and Now, the overdose night. Walk me through what happened that night.
I was going looking for cocaine. My buddy said he didn't have cocaine, he had heroin, he said. He said, it's really strong, be careful. So I knew then it's probably got fentanyl in it. So I was very careful. I went back to my brother's house. They were playing video games. I told them to wait, don't smoke that joint, I gotta go to the bathroom. So I go to the bathroom, I take the smallest speck of this stuff, shoot it in my arm, and all of a sudden I'm getting dizzy as if I got up too fast, and then it goes away. And I'm like, whew, and I'm gone. I'm going to thank God that dizziness was going away. And the next thing I wake up and I think I'm deaf. I can't hear anything. There's ambulances, there's cops, my mom, and it was traumatic for me, but it was more traumatic for him.
Was this any kind of turning point in your life, Gary, or did you just keep on using, or what happened after that?
You think
night?
it would have been the time that I would say, no, that's it, I'm done, but it wasn't.
Actually took a little while after that.
Yeah.
It was incredible, actually. It infuriated me to no end that it wasn't rock bottom.
So Gary, you would think, if you came that close to dying that night, why wasn't that your rock bottom?
It wasn't my rock bottom because I knew that that night I had done something that I didn't know what it was, that it was going to be dangerous, yes. After that, I know I'll never put anything in my arm that I don't know what it is. But in my head, I wasn't done.
So what happened next?
I got a federal sentence, which was actually pretty good. I ended up getting my high school there. I got rid of Hep C there. And calling my family and being in touch with them, it was really good. I was getting up to go to work every day, or go to school every day, and then go to work in the afternoon. And I guess during that time, it made me realize I can't go back to that. I can't. I can't. So when I got out this time, I finished my federal sentence. That was the real test. When I got out this time and my federal sentence was done, I had money in my pocket, and I knew that I could go do coke right now if I want, or do opiates if I want. Nothing can stop me. But I haven't yet, and I'm gonna not do it ever again.
How hard was it not to?
Very hard. Cocaine is so hard to stay away from.
And how easy is it to get in the St. John's area, or actually right across Newfoundland and Labrador?
It is very easy to get cocaine here and anywhere else, which is sad. It's too bad, because our kids are going to see that stuff, and it comes down to them making the decision. And I remember being young and all those older people saying, don't do this and don't do that, and it didn't matter. I didn't care, because I was going to do what I wanted to. But don't do cocaine. Don't do opiates. It's going to take you to the grave. It's going to take you to jail. And your family is way more important than any drug. I really just want people to know that people that are addicted to drugs aren't animals. They're not bad people. They're just sick people. They need help. You know, don't send them to jail. Send them somewhere that they can get help, rehab. Jail is not the answer.
Well, listen, guys, I know it's been a difficult 2 evenings, but a fascinating, at times disturbing discussion about addictions in our community. I want to thank you both very much. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you
You're
very
welcome.
much for having us. And hey, if this guy can get clean, if this guy can do it, you can do it too. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate you doing this for us. Thank you.
Welcome back. Well, we have another Far From Home episode for you tonight, where Here and Now's Jen White speaks to Newfoundlanders and Labradorians living in other parts of the world.
And tonight, Megan Lee. She's originally from Goulds, but she's spending the pandemic much closer to the equator.
Hey Megan, how's it going?
Very well, how are you?
I'm good. So you're living in a very exotic place right now, far away from home. Can you tell me where you're from and where you're living?
I am from St. John's, from the Goulds. And I'm currently in Tanzania, which is in East Africa.
Wow, so that's very far away from home. What's it like living there?
Absolutely different, polar opposites, literally right now. So we're under the equator, so we are just entering the summer season, really. So it's very warm here. I mean, wildlife is abundant. It's absolutely amazing. Hot, my gosh, it's amazing.
You mentioned that you had some creatures behind you. Who's hanging out there with you today?
There's a couple of creatures. They are still. There's a few zebras, as us Canadians like to say, not zebras like these guys say. There's a good few that come in and out, and yeah, they love the grasses around the home, so they come straight up to the veranda just here, and yeah, it's crazy. It's really crazy.
What do you do for work? What's your job?
So I am a model. I'm normally based in London, but given the current circumstances with the lockdown and everything like that in London, I've decided, you know what, my boyfriend has been born and raised here in Tanzania, so we're basing ourselves here for the time being.
And so let's talk a little bit about COVID. So when it struck, you were in London, as you said. So what happened then?
So yeah, exactly. It struck in that mid-March kind of time, and at the time in London, there was no, kind of precautions coming into place. I was getting a bit nervous, as we all were. And then when Trudeau announced, he said, "It's Canadians, it's time to come home." I was like, "All right, man." I went to the airport. I flew to Canada. I went home, and my boyfriend flew here home to Tanzania. And I spent the first 3 months of the proper lockdown in Canada. And then, as June rolled around, and we're doing long distance and all that good stuff, the border here in Tanzania opened, and so we just said, okay, it's now or never. We didn't, you just don't know what's going to come next. So when will we see each other again? So I took the plunge. I think it was a 21-hour journey all the way here in that peak of COVID times. Now I'm experiencing their version of the, I guess, lockdown.
So tell me a little bit about that. What does the lockdown look like in Tanzania?
Well, we've been smart, so we're just kind of based in the bush. So we're in our own kind of world of lockdown. So, I mean, you can drive for like a while before seeing a person here, and of course we go about once a month to collect groceries and stuff like that. You don't feel that fear that's in Canada and Europe and the UK. It's more everyone's outside the whole time, and of course when you do go to the grocery store or whatever, you're wearing your mask, and the precautions are definitely in place in that sense, but for the most part everyone's kind of keeping to themselves in their own little like bush bubbles.
Did you notice any changes to life there since COVID has struck? Any big differences?
Absolutely. When you're going on safari, you're surrounded by about 20 other safari car on a normal kind of visit to the national parks. But right now, I mean, we've been going into the national parks, and we've been basically the only vehicle. Like it's amazing in that sense. You get to experience an encounter with a wild elephant or a cheetah or a leopard, but there's no other cars with you. You can really feel the tourism industry has been really affected here, and it's really sad because they really depend on it here.
So when you're not working, Megan, what are you doing to pass the time?
I'm doing a little online course and just trying to keep busy because the option is to go back to London and jump back into the fashion industry, but it's just not. I don't see that making me happy given the times right now. So I'm choosing this for sure, and just riding out this wave, but Tanzania style.
What about coming home then? Do you think you're going to make it back to Newfoundland or head back up to London anytime soon?
The priority would be to get to Newfoundland. Obviously, my work would be in London, but my home is Newfoundland. I really miss my family. I am definitely homesick, especially now.
Do you have any parting words for any family and friends back home?
Oh my gosh, my mom and my dad and my grandma, everyone watching, I miss you guys so much. And, these times are definitely strange. And I'm definitely in a different part of the world, but my heart is always in Newfoundland.
Okay, Megan, thanks so much for the chat. I'll see you later.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody. I miss you all. Mwah.
Well, the COVID-19 vaccines will hopefully reopen the world to regular travel eventually. But for now, back in this province, here's more from the first inoculation in St. John's today.
Probably one of the most inspirational things that I'll take away from COVID happened in Eastern Health in March. There was a lot of angst. In fact, I would say there was a lot of fear in the organization, and particularly with frontline staff and clinicians who were trying to think about what it meant to go into the COVID unit to care for people who had this virus, because we knew so little about how the virus would respond. And during that time, as we were trying to figure out how we were going to staff the unit, one of our physicians stepped forward with his colleagues, and he expressed that fear. And he talked about how afraid he was of caring for COVID patients and what all this meant, but not just as a physician, but as a husband and as a father of young children. And Dr. Morcar stepped forward and talked to his colleagues about the fact that he was petrified to care for patients who had COVID, but that he felt that this is what he had been trained for. And as a physician, he felt an obligation. And so he was the first one to put up his hand and say, I'll go in, I'll be a critical person in the COVID unit to care for patients.
I mean, I know the first week initially when we started this, we had barricaded myself into a room down in the basement. I distanced myself from the family in that sense. And the only contact I really had with them was through Skype and through Zoom. So yeah, that was a huge change. Of course, as things evolved, we were able to open up and be closer.
Ellen Foley-Vick, who is a public health nurse, is also one of those people, first to put up their hand in public health. We needed people to go into homes and do swabs. Now you think about that, what that meant what it means now, but what it meant in March when we knew so little about this and everybody was scared.
It's a wonderful feeling to be acknowledged and to have this opportunity. I feel like it's an early Christmas gift in a way. But I'm doing this to represent not just for me, it's for all the other people that have worked in this COVID pandemic. And just thankful for the opportunity and encourage everyone, of course, to get the vaccine.
This today is the first step in the end of COVID-19 for Newfoundland and Labrador. But it is just that, the first step.
Well, tomorrow, the CBC's Peter Cowan will be back answering your questions about the COVID-19 vaccine. So if you're wondering about anything vaccine related, you can send him your questions by email. His address is on the screen there, peter.cowan@cbc.ca.
pandemic has changed how we're celebrating this December. Many Newfoundlanders and Labradorians won't be home for the holidays. We want to give you a chance to send a letter home. Pull out your smartphone, make sure you hold it horizontally, and record a minute or so greeting to someone you're not going to get to see in person this holidays. You can send it by email to lettershome@cbc.ca. We'll air as many as we can on radio, TV, and online. This Christmas, we can still come together even if we're apart.
And no matter where you are, if you're like in the province or if you're away, you can still send a video to us for the Letters Home segment.
Indeed, that pretty much does it for tonight. Is that wind going to finally die down?
Yes, tomorrow, don't worry.
All right. See you tomorrow.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.